Stefanya D'Allesandro is one of the newest members of Charleston County's District 20 Constituent School Board, and since November, she's had ideas of moving the district forward. I speak exclusively with Stefanya for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio. Stefanya D'Allesandro, it's so good to meet you.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Obviously, you are a household name in Charleston, and now you are obviously a mom, a wife, and you're also a part of the District 20 Constituent School Board as a member.
I am. Luckily, I was voted in, and I can serve everybody and do some hard work now. Yeah.
What does hard work look like to you when it comes to the District 20 Constituent School Board?
Yeah, so I guess I would start by saying that the whole reason I got into it primarily, I'm a parent, and, I'm luckily enough, I'm able to stay at home with the kids. And so that, that can mean a lot of things for people, but for me that means I can focus on what, the kids do, what their schools, they're young, so that's all they really know right now is their day-to-day life in school. So those are the things I'm their advocate for. And so I think with that I started really participating in their school and volunteering and trying to fill in gaps where I could see that, schools need that parent involvement. So I was really focused on being that parent that could be involved because I could. And with that, I kind of started learning about how things worked. And then, the District 20 seat was opening up for Constituent Board, and my good friend Danny Arborough, was running for re-election, approached me and said, would you be interested in running as well? And honestly, I feel like me running for that board was me continuing those efforts for being a parent advocate for my children. And I feel like that's what the District 20 Constituent Board is about. So I felt like that was like a place that was good for me to focus that energy in volunteering for the community and my kids in particular.
What are those gaps when you look at District 20 right now?
Well, so for District 20, there's a lot happening. I wouldn't be able to tell you what the single issues perhaps are or what the solutions are, and that's something that, a lot of great minds are working towards. But the district itself has seen a lot of change in the past 15 years in particular with a lot of gentrification and changes the dynamics of the population downtown, just overall numbers in the population, that we're seeing. But more than anything, just kind of cultural shifts and just like what the neighborhoods have looked like. And so there's a lot plays into what the district is and where it needs to be.
Okay.
And luckily right now there's a lot of conversation about what that means for the schools in District 20. And as a result, I feel like there's a wave and there's a tipping point now for involvement in the community to really focus on it. Where potentially in the past, due to, for other reasons, perhaps economic reasons, we had a big recession, we had a lot of things happening, the focus went into other areas perhaps. And so, so the district to me is in a really good opportunity to make changes moving forward that will last, the next 50, 100 years, to really kind of focus on the people in its district and its children and its workforce and the parents that are involved in making things happen and anyone who wants to join us because we are a coveted area. People want to be here.
Absolutely. And when you put gentrification and education into one equation, what do you see?
So, yeah, and I'm part of that gentrification, for sure. And so what do I see? I see that there are cultural differences that are coming in and we have historically very strong roots in amazing African American schools in our district, and it's amazing and it's a great asset to our community. It really is. Like what has come from schools like Burke, what is to continue to come from schools from Burke. But so we have these strong connections and ties, but then we also have this kind of new wave of this millennial, this young farm to table focus. There's just like a different wave of culture coming in now, and so to see those two minglings coming together, it's a really interesting time because, you know, the simple decisions that are being made and made, day-to-day actions and how we treat each other and how we're dealing with it, that's why it's such a difficult situation. These are kind of new things that we're dealing with. And so as a result of it, we are learning day to day how to handle these and how to blend them properly without disrespecting a culture and overriding it, you know, because one might seem like it's coming in strong, which is this new gentrification. So it's very difficult to say that, you know, we're not going to dismiss one, but really kind of come and embrace them together. And that's a difficult thing, you know, that for no matter how much respect one has for another culture or for anything, it's a really difficult thing to grasp for anybody. And it's happening at such a fast rate right now. So this is a chance for us to really teach our children that this unity is important and to embrace it, and then the, you know, issues that may come from it, to not put them aside but really address them and talk about them openly with, you know, all parties at the table, so that we can really move forward in a positive light, and so that we can have, you know, all this mixing now that's happening, and we can address issues that may result as, you know, from it, such as, you know, housing issues, or, you know, perhaps like socioeconomic issues that happen and even within our schools, and how that affects what the classroom may look like, or attitudes in the classroom, or just issues amongst children with their peers, just understanding each other. So gentrification, I feel like, is something that is a conversation that should be had within all homes, so that it's not something that is unnatural to our community. It needs to be part of the conversation, not something you notice. It needs to just be something we're embracing and teaching our children to understand is a really kind of lucky thing that we have all this great diversity here.
You talk about conversation. Where do we move next with Burke in your mind?
Well, you know, I would love to say that I could tell you, and that's what we're going to do. But to be honest with you, me being on the Constituent Board, I love to hear from people. I'm not going to say that I understand all the issues, and I'm not going to say that, not necessarily that I don't understand, but I don't know all the issues and all the deep-rooted things perhaps. But I do know that there are certain aspects that we really need to grasp, which is people are really concerned about attendance. Okay. And unfortunately for Burke, at this point, they really just don't have the numbers to provide a lot of the resources that students need in the school. And so as a result of that, it's hard to get other community members to join Burke when, and it's easy to say, well, send your student to Burke and you won't have any issues and we'll all move forward. But that's a difficult thing to put on a parent who has a student perhaps that's already needing to be challenged on certain levels once they get to high school. And if these things perhaps aren't provided for, or if it's not a situation that the parent feels comfortable due to just the levels that they were able to provide for a student, for instance, like in math, right, or different things like that. And that's not a reflection of Burke and its students. It's just a reflection of sheer quantity number of students that are at a school. For instance, like middle schools downtown. Sure. We have 6 middle schools downtown. We do not have enough students to provide one middle school compared to other districts, to just really give the numbers to provide the courses to challenge perhaps, or to be well-rounded enough to really provide for a proper middle school. Okay. So these are things that we need to think about. And Burke historically has really pulled a lot of students from the area, being the historical school that it is. And unfortunately at the moment we're not pulling those same numbers. So the district is really, really thinking hard and putting a lot of effort now into finding what those proper solutions are for Burke. But it's really important to remember that Burke is a very important school to the community, and so it's important to have these conversations had with people who are alumni, or have a lot of significance for them in their community, making sure that all voices are heard, or parents that are new to the area that need a school that's going to challenge their students, and parents that, have sent their grandchildren to the school, and understanding where we can meet in the middle to make it work for everybody.
You talk about numbers. What is the ideal number that Burke should be at right now?
Yeah, so Burke is under 400 students. So the campus itself can hold, I believe it's like 1,200 students. The truth is that there aren't that many students in District 20 for high school. We just can't provide those numbers. The same for middle school. We cannot provide those numbers for one campus. So what Burke's focus would potentially be, and there are a lot of talks, the school board has set some very high standards and requirements that they're requiring the district to fall through with plans by June.
Right.
And these are very strict things, and luckily as a District 20 member, a constituent member, I was able to nominate people I would like to see put on committees that would be working towards these goals by June 24th. And so all of that work would identify, independent of the goals that they have for literacy achievement, numeracy achievements, equity, and inclusiveness, and independent of those things, they're going to have to sit down and really figure out, how do we make these schools kind of a hub and a source where people from other districts may want to share with us and come to us so that we can get higher numbers. We are in a very strategically smart place community here. Currently, we have a lot of students from Burke that do not live in our district, are not zoned for Burke, and they come in just because of our location and things that we offer. Burke does offer, they do have IEP, they do have, the amazing, they have sports programs, they have their band programs. So there's a lot of, we just have to focus on those things.
And what are those other resources that you would love to have at Burke?
Personally, I'm going to say I would love to have more of the community involved with Burke. I feel like, I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old at James Simmons Elementary downtown. So I would say that I'm still a little further out from a lot of my fellow constituent board members who have students who are like getting into the process of getting in high school or in high school. So I'm still a little further out, but me seeing from the outside at this point, I would like to see that we get a little more of the community involved in Burke today. Burke, every time we see that marching band go by in the parade, it's amazing, it's wondrous, but if we can get more of us going into the school, seeing the things that they're already doing. They just had, they do college fairs.
Right.
They do, like employment fairs. They do all sorts of fun stuff. They do STEAM stuff. They do a lot of stuff there. And I was just touring Simmons Pinkney recently, and the students go over and they get to go see. I would love to have, the elementary students, at James Simmons, other schools participating more and kind of getting involved, just to shine light that they're a part of our community, and these are our students, and to give those students the respect that they deserve for putting in this hard work.
And when you talk about the community, a lot of people respect and love Stonyfield. Where are you with this discussion?
Well, they're working on it. They are fixing the field itself. I understand that there are a lot of issues with the stadium itself and it being outdated. And I'm going to say that it's not something that I don't care about personally, but it's something that I'm not as familiar as other people, it's not an intimate issue to me. I do know that the improvements to the field were absolutely necessary. And it's something I knew that the district has been talking for a long time, and even just getting the bids and the contractors, and even I was acting for, figuring out updates of just when it's happening. So I'm very happy to see that just the field itself will be a safe place for students year-round moving forward in our next school year, since the work should be done by then. But it is, it's a very integral part of the community. I will admit their centennial homecoming game, my husband and I, we're really excited about going, and and we couldn't get in. It's packed. It's like, well, if we can house that many people, and if it can bring that much joy to the community, and these students really, a lot of them, they see sports and different things as the light in their life, and that's amazing. So I think we need to focus that energy. Obviously, a lot of it is a budget and financial issue, and I can't speak to the financial specifications of that.
Okay.
But I understand that it's not an easy thing to just say, okay, now we're going to renovate this. You know, we're put funds right now. They're focusing it more, like they're currently redoing the entrance of Burke to make sure that it's safe. And you know, I personally, I do think that's important. You know, and sometimes you have to do your have tos before your want tos. And not that Stonyfield is not a have to, but I think they have prioritized sometimes, you know, and you know, we just came out of a big recession, and that was difficult financially for a lot of things, and so I think now that we're kind of getting in a better flow, they had to focus on things that are perhaps more important, like the security of the students in the school and making sure that, you know, the right proper precautions were coming in for people to come into the building. So yeah, but I'm very happy to see that the field will be cleaned up, and I guess it's AstroTurf now. Is that going to be the new thing? I think it is. I mean, if I'm not wrong, I'm excited for it. So that should be good for the school. Hopefully, that'll bring a big, you know, wave of excitement in the fall.
And you earlier talked about Simmons Pinkney. What is the future of that school in your mind?
Yeah. So for the district strategic plan, you know, Dr. Postowitz has come and presented to our board about what that would be like for District 20 and all the different areas that they talk about and address. And at this point, it's not that it's vague, but they have said, you know, like, we are not, you know, we are biased. We cannot be the ones who are going to say, this is what's going to happen to all the middle schools. You know, I feel like they have come up with a very kind of ingenious solution where they are going to nominate committee members. They should be selected. We should be hearing any day now, honestly, when they should be selected. They will be meeting throughout March and April. And in this time, they will be able to tell us what all the solutions and ideas are for everything that was presented by, first, the school board, and secondly, by the strategic plan from the district to address all these issues. And so there's been talk, you know, we were giving examples and ideas, so that's why I say it's vague, because we don't have the numbers for to house 6 middle schools downtown to provide the nutritional services, you know, all the services that a school needs that really you don't think about, but it really adds up, like facilities and everything. So if we can consolidate potentially some of the schools, and this is an idea that's been thrown out there, is, would it be like a mall school where, even though they are still separate middle schools, potentially they can all share space so that it cuts down on the overhead for a lot of those basic needs that all these schools need.
Okay.
But you could still go to Allegro, and you could go to your arts programs, through Allegro, and your musical, and you can do all this. But you could still participate in other middle school programs from other schools, but even though you're enrolled into your curriculum, you are able to take advantage of other schools' opportunities because you're in the same building. So for Simmons Pinkney, that's I recently met with Mr. Nelson, who's been doing a wonderful job there, and who's really has done a lot of hard work, and I can understand. Or I can imagine that it is perhaps a little intimidating to think, well, what's going to happen after he's really put in a lot of effort to be, bringing his students up to the level that he really feels more comfortable with, and he feels like the students can easily attain through hard work and all this effort that they've been putting into. But it's interesting because I can't imagine Simmons Pinkney going anywhere. And I cannot imagine the district not noticing the effort that is being putting there. And they talk about seeing programs that are working and how are they working and using those ideas. And Mr. Nelson's been doing a lot of things there that have been showing progress and results. He might need help still perhaps in other areas, and that may be due to resources. That might be due to, being able to handle special cases with students and being able to provide them the resources that they need to make sure that the rest of the student population isn't being affected by perhaps a few isolated incidents. But I do think that the talks are going to come from these committees are only going to help Mr. Nelson's efforts and are only going to provide the proper kind of surroundings and structure for these schools so that they can succeed. And that is the whole goal of this. It isn't to take away identities or take away schools. It's just to strengthen what we have. And so hopefully these committees, which should be comprised of residents in the district,
Sure.
that have a stake in the game. They have children in the district. They're actively in the school district, in our schools, and that means that these people aren't going to kind of be outsiders or people with opinions. They're going to be people who are living it and really need it fixed. So hopefully that will really be a game changer for these schools and what that means for our district.
And when you heard about the rumors about the potential closing of Burke, which didn't happen and was, dispelled by the school district, where were you emotionally?
Yeah, so, and I will say I had very, very young kids at the time, and I did attend a lot of those District 20 meetings that, really kind of got, I wouldn't say out of hand, but got very emotional, and there was a lot of interest that felt very negative towards it, and they got, it was really loud. I understand that. I understand that because we're not coming from a place of just flowers and sunshine and all of a sudden, someone was told, well, there's potential for your school to close. We're coming from a very sensitive historical background with a lot of segregation, a lot of unfortunate hate, a lot of things, and I can understand where all of a sudden the sense of identity and culture that people have had a sense of pride in. Burke has been a sense of pride for the community, and to be told that potentially they could lose that, and feeling as if they were not part of that conversation to why it should be lost. I can understand that those emotions. Having said that, I do believe that that conversations need to be had that are not easy to do, and I think that all people should come to the table to have those conversations. So I can understand where all the issues and emotions may have come from it, but I don't think that it is okay to move forward without having these difficult conversations to bring light to things. When they came out prior to the strategic plan, the shared future, when they had all these committees come together, and they shared the different scenarios to what they see for the Charleston County School District. The first one was a very bleak one. It was talking about how historically what it meant to teach African Americans how to read and how you could be fined for it, which is just a really, very sobering piece of information to hear, and obviously this is not a scenario for us today, but it's a scenario that we come from. And so that's a piece of information that I think was very important to that presentation for us to understand to why this may be an emotional discussion. And I think that we cannot make light of that. And so I think it was very important to say that. And then it was important to show the scenarios where we can go from here, because it's attainable as long as people are willing to put the effort in. And luckily, I think that, I think a huge portion of it has to do with the Post and Courier's minimally adequate literature that they've been putting out, and all the forums that they're still, continuing to have. I think it's a conversation we're having, and I think it's really important. I think we're at I hate to say it all the time, but I feel like we're kind of at this tipping point now for the community to really put eyes on this and push legislation forward, and to see a lot of change for the good for everybody downtown.
You talk about change. Obviously, there's been some rumors about some people wanting to get rid of the constituent school boards. When you hear that, what do you say?
I'm not offended by that. Maybe it's because I'm new to it. But with that, the constituent school board, I feel like, is important because constituent board. That is why I joined it. We do see a lot of discipline hearings and transfer hearings, yes. And I do think that just from a systematic way, that will have to be handled by somebody. So that's a lot, and that's a lot of work and it's time. And so I'm not sure how that will be addressed. And they talk about doing different geographical boards, constituent board type things that would address those things. But for me, it's the whole reason I joined the Constituent Board is because I wanted to be a voice between the constituents and the board. And I do feel, and I know that like even my brother-in-law, who's also sat on the Constituent Board, has mentioned, it would be nice to give perhaps a little more power to that voice. And not necessarily just in transfer hearings and just kind of being able to communicate, but to actually like give more power to that voice, because it's not my voice. I'm just someone who's reporting back from the schools and from teachers and what I'm hearing, and or just question, it's really, I feel like all these studies have shown that the board is potentially not working the way it was designed to work. And perhaps that is why they see that they can shift it out and move it out, because it's almost creating a level of dialogue within the board. People always say that there's a lot of discussion, disagreement within the boards. And I think if we gave them a little more power for the constituent voice, I think it would be well worth keeping. But if it's just going to be discipline hearings and transfers at this point, which is unfortunately sometimes the only way people see the voice, then we are kind of losing sight of what a true constituent board could be. And as a result of that, if we could zone it properly, geographically, so that we can have boards that encompass larger areas, which really do affect our schools better, then maybe it would be okay change, Did I just say I want to fire myself? Potentially, but the truth is that I don't think the solution is to get rid of the board and get rid of a constituent conversation. I think that is always going to be a role, and I cannot imagine the district doing that, especially with all the pressure that they're having now. I don't see that being a solution. So for me, it isn't getting rid of the constituent board, it is updating the constituent board to work for its constituents.
And you talk about your brother-in-law. I got to talk to you about your family. D'Allesandro.
Yeah.
The D'Allesandros. D'Allesandro Pizza. I was just there last night for pepperoni calzone, and we all love your pizza down there. What do you want people to know more about the D'Allesandro Pizza that we don't know about?
Well, we're just pizza. We don't pretend. We're not going to make you come in and pay for the artwork on the wall. But if you have some artwork you want to put on the wall, I'm sure they'll put it up.
Right.
But it's exactly that. We're just a family pizza place. My husband and his brother have just kind of created this concept. They took a risk in a neighborhood that at the time, like we talked about gentrification, is not what it is today. It was a lucky risk. I would say it's lucky, but I think it was very intentional. Okay. They knew what they were doing. Ben had lived in the area for a long time. I was already hanging out on Bogart Street while I was in college, which is how I met Nick. So I think that they just saw that they could make some just good pizza. It's nothing crazy. They just wanted to make good pizza. And honestly, it's been a great kind of thing to see them grow with over the years, because like even just now when I just dropped off the kids at the pizza shop.
I'll see your Instagram story about it.
Yeah, here I check out Nick's stories. Even then, Nick had another community member in there, and they were talking about sponsorship for one of the basketball leagues that's going to go on this year, or this summer. So it's just fun to see how the pizza shop has been able to use their success in the community to really kind of put it back into the community, whether it be participating in school boards, or whether it be, sponsoring school teams, or, regularly trying to, if anyone reaches out from the community for different school events or different things, we're always there to help. A lot of nonprofit organizations reach out to the pizza shop. And we obviously have a lot of biking ties.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So for anything like that, the pizza shop is always willing to help in those parts of the community. So it's been nice. It's been nice to be able to grow with the community from the ground up, especially in Elliott Borough, and then and be able to kind of make an impact lightly onto the community in places that we can. So that to me has been the pizza shop. And I'm not going to lie, I was very lucky that I married Nick, and he happened to have good pizza that I can eat every day. So that's worked out very well for me. I did have to lose a lot of weight before I got married, because I was trying to eat pizza with Nick all the time. And Nick can eat a lot of pizza. Yes, we do eat pizza, all the time. We do. We eat it all the time. So you can eat pizza and still be fit as long as you move.
And you know, when I interviewed him last year for Quintin School, so I didn't even notice, but he doesn't eat meat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say a majority of the D'Allesandro family does not eat meat. Yeah. We, in our household, we're pescatarians.
Okay.
Nick hasn't had meat in a long time. I jumped on board a few years after him. But, you know, our kids eat it,
Okay.
you know, but we're not against people who eat meat.
Right.
You know, that's just our personal decision
Right.
in life. You know, it's the same as us, you know, owning one car and for, the, you know, biking most
Yeah.
places.
Oh,
That's
yes.
just kind of our decision in life.
Oh, yeah.
But that's just, you know, it's a lifestyle. And honestly, it's a lifestyle I feel like D'Allesandro's Pizza supports. You know, we made sure when the city was putting in bike racks to make sure that the city was able to put one in across from the pizza shop.
Yeah.
We very much encourage that lifestyle where you can, you know, eat your pizza and, you know, ride your bike to get enough, you know, and still have a good life. So that's really lucky that we're in the community and we can easily walk home or, you know, from that's Charleston.
Charleston.
So I would say we're definitely the neighborhood pizza place in Charleston,
Right.
and it really shows that local community.
Oh, yes, I agree completely.
Yeah.
Well, Stefanya D'Allesandro, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Anytime. You're welcome. Thank you.
Check it out.
Yes, ma'am.